Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and this is Elite Dangerous Horizons. In this video I had every intent to spend a bunch more time on this lovely planet that I found in the last video. I wanted to check out a few points of interest, but that really didn't all go to plan. I found this really nice looking point of interest here, but couldn't find anywhere to land nearby. What I wasn't aware of though is just how powerful the ship defense turrets are that have been introduced in the most recent patch. You can just about make out the defense turret there to the right of the point of interest, the orange light there. There's a little block there. I have got a warning here to leave the area, but I didn't take too much notice of it. But that was irrelevant anyway, because it was about to get my attention anyhow. Now just look how fast those shields go down. I have got class 3 shields here. They're not that good for the ship of this size, but you would have thought they would have held up a little bit longer there. In my bid to escape though, I unfortunately ended up crashing into the ground, but I'm sure I wouldn't have escaped anyway. Ship destroyed. That's the end of that. Took about an hour and a half to get out this way. I certainly didn't intend on doing that one again. So next up was a few planet-based missions, and hopefully I was going to find a base infiltration mission. I did indeed manage to do that, and I'll show you how that went down towards the end of this video. First though, there's this mission, which is a search and rescue. Points of interest have been changed yet again. You now need to be above 2 kilometers up in the air in order to see them. Search and rescue though, these planets really are vast and lonely and empty. Just imagine being lost out in one of these places on your own with no way of getting around. The new point of interest location mechanic though does make it a little bit more difficult yet again to find things within your ship, so you really need to come back down again, land and get out in your SRV. So it kind of puts things back to how they were prior to Beta 4, which in my opinion is hardly ideal really, but Frontier have said they're still working on it. Hopefully they'll come up with something a little bit more interesting. Now the search and rescue mission turned out to be nothing more than just locating an occupied escape pod. But at least it gives context to these areas now, and I'm all for that. I picked up 3 different types of missions though. There was this search and rescue one, there was another one where I have to hunt down some drones, which I'm going to get onto in a minute, and then finally there's the base infiltration one, and that really did turn out to be quite an adventure. I was soon heading back to my ship then in order to head to the next mission. Like I say, this one was locating the drones, or the sentries. A few of them I had to destroy, 3 in fact. I was a bit curious that these perhaps wouldn't be hostile drones, so I'd probably get wanted or fine for attacking them. Nonetheless, that's how things seem to work in Elite Dangerous, and I've noticed that apparently when you're down on planets, your wanted status is region specific, which means it's only held in effect around a certain radius within the base that actually has issued the bounty on your head. So just because you're wanted on one area of the planet doesn't mean you're going to also be wanted on the other area of the planet. In this particular case, the drones are not too much of a challenge. In fact, overall the drones aren't too much of a challenge on their own or individually, even a couple you can take on. But I have found a few areas where there's at least 12 or more of these sort of drones, and I think they would pretty much annihilate your SRV very quickly. A bit easier to take them out if you're in your ship, in fact quite a lot easier to take them out in your ship, but with the new ship defense turrets available around these sort of areas, that does make things a bit more of a challenge. So that's effectively this mission complete. It was worth taking a look here though to see what sort of cargo was laying around. Turned out it's another occupied cryopod, so I wasn't going to really bother picking that one up. With all that done then, it was time to head back to the city, hand in these 2 missions, and then get to the base assault, which is actually on the opposite side of the planet. You can use a Planetary schematic map here to help you locate some of these bases. I know the base I've got to go to, it's the small little hub down here, and if we just select that as a target, it will come up on our HUD, allowing us to locate it. Now, it's probably going to be a fair bit smaller or a fair bit different in style to this settlement I'm at here, and there certainly won't be any docking pads there. Quickest way to get round to the other side of the planet is to head up into orbit and travel around the planet and then come back down when you're within range of your destination. You could always fly around the surface of the planet, but that would literally take you hours and hours to get to wherever you want to go. Here then is the target. I've got to cut the power to one of the turrets here. I can't land too close because of the base's ship defences, and we've seen how effective they can be earlier on in this video. So I have to land outside of the range of those guns, which is roughly 3 kilometres or so, and then head in with a ground vehicle. Once again, this really does highlight the distances and scale when you're playing this game. Flying from that city to this point with my ship literally took a matter of seconds. To travel there though in the SRV took a fair few minutes. And as you can see, these places look a lot bigger when you're down on the ground than when you're up in your ship. The faction in charge of this base then is actually neutral towards me. They shouldn't attack me until I give them cause to do so, and probably before long that's exactly what's going to happen. I shouldn't have to hopefully attack anything until they at least attack me, but if I start messing with their facilities here, they're likely to not take that too kindly. Unfortunately, it's not that easy to locate the particular facility you need to target. In this case, it's something that's controlling the turrets. I've no real idea where that is. There are a couple of signatures there on the scanner, so I could probably travel towards one of them, and that's exactly what I tried to do here. But if you heard that, that was the security gate shutting. The base is about to go into lockdown. Unfortunately, with me trapped inside it, I've trespassed a little bit too much, and they're now not too happy at my presence here. There are ways of getting these gates unlocked. You need to find a control hub and interact with it with your data scanner. Unfortunately, I can't do that from inside the facility because that hub exists elsewhere. And of course, even inside this base, it's not without its defences. That one nearly took my shields right down, and just around the corner are a few defence turrets, most of which start attacking me when I get within range of them. At this point then, I had two things in my mind. One, how was I going to find my mission objective? I was hoping it was kind of trapped inside this particular area with me, which would have made the process a lot easier. The second thing was how the heck I was going to get out of this area, because just look how high those walls are. With the amount of gravity here, there's no way I was going to be able to jump over them, at least not from this low level. Here's something quite interesting. You've seen it before in one of my earlier Horizon videos. It's a data point, and now you can scan these, and these trigger a timer. There's a defence turret shooting at me, but I can just get behind the building so it can't reach me now. Fortunately for me, there's no sentries in these areas. Sometimes you come into these places and there's a whole ton of sentries here as well, making things a little bit more difficult and a bit more heated. Now, as I was saying, when we scan these data points, it activates a timer. And you can see there I've got about 1.5 minutes. And what that allows me to do is find another data point before that timer runs out. The timer then will reset or increase, allowing me to find a third data point. We don't know always how many data points there are, but when you complete the run of scanning all the data points, you'll actually be issued with a reward bond, which you can hand in and claim money for. Now, getting out of this area was starting to feel a bit difficult for me, not because of the amount of sentries here or turrets, because they weren't too much of a problem, they were fairly well spaced out. What the issue was is that I just couldn't find a way to get out, at least not without starting to climb up here onto cargo things and try and jump the wall, or without trying to find a ramp of some type. This is where it would have been a lot easier being in a wing, because I could have had someone on the outside going around and trying to find the access hub, and if they scanned that, the doors would then unlock. Eventually I found this ramp which went up to some sort of doorway which was protected by an energy field. The door's actually impenetrable, you can't pass through it and you can't shoot through it, but you can boost past the size of it. This manoeuvre actually took me a few attempts, because the first few times I just fell back inside the area again. But as you can see, the instant I got outside of that area, I started getting shot at, and that's because there's a couple of sentries here just floating about. Now, the turrets on the front of the SRV here are actually quite good to use. They mainly just fire forward, but they are fairly slow in their tracking, and they leave you quite open to being attacked here. Whilst only 1 or 2 sentries are attacking you, it's not too much of a problem, the shields will hold up, but if you get any more, you're going to be in quite a lot of trouble. At that point, it's really better to try and control the turret manually. Now, you can control the turret manually and still drive around, but I find that very difficult to do with the joystick and throttle. So I'm considering binding a control pad to the turret settings and just swapping over to a control pad when I want to use the turret. Might be something worth doing. For a while here I was kind of impressed with the AI, because I thought the sentry might be trying to hide behind the wall in order to get a bit of shelter from my fire. but I suspect it was a bit more stupid AI, more like getting stuck on the walls. You can see it trying to manoeuvre through the wall there, or so it seems at any rate. So it was just a case of waiting for the sentry to move back out again, at which point I should be able to destroy it. As you can see here, manually controlling the turrets does seem to work quite well, but it's very difficult to try and drive the vehicle at the same time. At least, like I say, with the joystick. Sentry destroyed. Nice and easy. Safe and sound again then. I was still unsure where to go for the mission objective. When you come to these bases, there are a couple of different objectives you can get missions for. Sometimes you get a mission to take out the power generator, which seems to be what this is. You can just destroy it here by keep shooting at it. Eventually it will explode and you'll get a mission complete notification. But that clearly wasn't what the mission was about here. Now, I don't know what this actually does, if it has any effect when destroying these. There are some of the points you can interact with, and it will actually have an effect on the base. Like I say, there is an access hub. If you interact with that, it will cause the doors to open back up again. It prevents the base from going on complete lockdown. Although I haven't found one yet, I'm wondering if there's some sort of access node that allows you to disable the turrets, either the ground turrets or the ship defense turrets. There might actually be separate nodes for each of those. On this mission, I haven't needed any wing support. I don't know if all the missions are actually like that, but I have heard people talking that they've come into areas like this to be completely overwhelmed by sentries and then had to try and come in with their ships to take the sentries out. Now, I thought initially this was an objective I needed to destroy, but then I thought it might be the access hub that I was talking about a moment ago, that if you scan it, it unlocks a door. So I gave it a try, no idea if it actually had an effect, but over there on the left you can actually see what appears to be a door, and after I scan it, it doesn't actually open. So maybe this does something else and the access hub is somewhere else. Now, on some missions you'll probably need to find the access hub, because it's quite possible that your mission objective could be inside the protection of the base's walls here. But that wasn't the case for my mission objective. I finally found it here. Just needed to get out of sight of that turret there, and this was the objective I needed to scan. Actually does look like it's up slightly inside of the base, but it's well within my scan range. Bit of a daft place for the people who own this base to actually locate it. And there we go. Mission complete. That has disabled the anti-ship turrets, and the idea of the mission now is that that allows the other faction to come in here and do whatever they need to do. Really hoping that at some point in the future we get linked missions or chained missions where the second part is we can partake in the base assault after doing this. So now it was time to head back to the ship and hand this mission in. A few more turrets though to get rid of on the way out. Kind of wondering whether they're going to perhaps be a bit more deadly come release, because individually at least they don't pose too much of a challenge. But all in all, these base infiltrations are a huge step up for missions in Elite Dangerous, and they certainly give quite a bit more added content to the game. Now, they certainly need a bit of work on them. They need to be a little bit more difficult, and they need to be more multi-layered. For example, they need to have additional layers of security around them. At the moment at least, these missions aren't that hard to do solo, and I'd like to see that change a little bit. It'd be nice to see a requirement for wings to do some of the missions at least, with a need of both air and ground support in order to complete the objective. Something Frontier spoke of quite a bit during the promotional period of the game, but something I suspect will probably come sooner or later. After all, Horizons will contain deployable fighters as well as multi-crew ships, something that we should get during 2016. So that brings us to the end of this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.